Am I the butthole for refusing to support my niece's lifestyle? My sister and her husband were sent to prison at the start of this year, and sadly won't be released for a few years. That left me to look after their 15-year-old daughter Amy. I was perfectly happy to do this, but as most of their wealth was seized for being ill-gotten, it's meant that I've been having to care for her out of my own pocket. Once again, this doesn't bother me, but it's meant massive life changes for the kid. Firstly, they sent her to a private school. I can't afford anywhere near those fees, so I had to transfer her to a local school. She was upset at this at first, but she quickly made friends and is excelling academically, so this isn't a huge problem. She's been off school for the last few months anyway due to the situation. A bigger problem is clothing. Like my sister, Amy loves fashion and designer stuff. She's still got a lot of stuff that her parents got her, but she's always on the lookout for new clothes. Unfortunately, I can't afford anywhere near the sort of stuff she likes, and I also have 2 children of my own whose clothing I have to pay for. I have told my sister this, but she insists I should make allowances because her daughter is going through a tough time. Amy also really doesn't get along with my daughter Hannah, who is 11. She bullies her, calls her stupid and ugly, tells her none of her friends really like her, etc. She has made her cry on many occasions and often continues to taunt Hannah while she cries. Yesterday I caught Amy trying to buy a dress costing over $1,000 with my card. I was fuming and had a long conversation with her. She cried and sobbed that she just wanted one nice thing. My sister called from the prison, and Amy cried over the phone that she hates here and I treat her unfairly. I spoke to my sister afterwards and she begged me to go easy on her daughter because she's still adjusting. I put food on this kid's plate. I buy her whatever clothes I can afford, even if they aren't to her taste. I take her to visit her parents as much as possible. They're held in different facilities, and I do all of that on top of working and looking after my own children. I told my sister that I was willing to look after her daughter for as long as she needs, but if anything like the card incident happens again, or if she continues to pick on my daughter, there will be serious consequences for her. My sister wanted to argue, but they get limited time on the prison phone. I think what I'm doing is right. I get that the kid is going through a tough time, and I'm doing everything I can to be there for her. But I can't just tolerate bad behavior or bullying, and I can't afford to pay for her expensive clothing. The fact that she's struggling to deal with what happened to her parents doesn't change that. OP, you are not the butthole. You can't be expected to treat your niece the same as her parents did if you don't have as much money as her parents. Am I the butthole for insisting my wife address my parents correctly? I'm Indian and I met my wife when I was studying here. She's American. After graduation I got a job here and moved over permanently. One point of consternation between us is that she'll address my parents always by name. Now, while that's normal over here in the USA, in India where they live it's considered very rude. In fact, anyone more than a couple years older than you would be referred to as brother sister, a generation older as auntie uncle. Usually you can add a name in front of it, for example like Sachin uncle. In the build-up to the wedding my parents pulled me aside and said that they didn't like it that my fiancé would refer to them by name. Usually, one would address the in-laws as mum-dad, well, the Hindi words for mum-dad. Certainly, that's how my parents referred to their in-laws. However, I said that might be too much, especially for American culture, so let's try auntie uncle. They agreed. After we got married I approached her about it and she refused, saying it was weird and that in American culture addressing an older person by name was just fine. I told her that I'd made a lot of changes to adjust to American culture, and that addressing her parents by name made me very uncomfortable. It just feels very disrespectful to me, but I still did it because it was my choice to move to a new country and live in a new culture. My parents, however, made no such choice. They're living in India where they were born and raised, and I think it's only appropriate she speak to them politely. Hell, to this day I, 28, call my older sister, 31 Didi, sister in Hindi. I don't think I'm being unreasonable here, as I really don't see why calling people by name is so necessary. And while I agree that I need to adapt to my new environment and culture, I learn new things every day. I think you should still address people in a different culture how they want to be addressed regardless of what you think. Now, I was raised to think it's respectful to address my in-laws as mum-dad, but I don't because they would consider it to be odd and perhaps rude or presumptuous. You are most definitely not the butthole. It shouldn't be that hard for your wife to address your parents by auntie and uncle. She's being ignorant. You're trying your best to respect her culture, she should do the same. Am I the butthole for asking my daughter to put on a shirt when I come over? My 51F daughter, 25, says she is trans male, which means I guess she uses he/him pronouns in public and uses a different name, but doesn't say anything when I or her father call her by her birth name. Anyway, recently she got top surgery, which is when she gets her breasts removed, and her boyfriend, 27, has been taking care of her. It's been about 2 months since the last time I saw her in person because of COVID, and also because last time we got in a huge argument because I told her she should have talked to her father and I about serious cosmetic surgery like that. We try to talk on the phone and text at least once a week, but lately she's been pretty quiet about her life and won't tell us anything that's going on. My husband and I were over to drop off some food as her boyfriend is taking care of her basically around the clock and neither of them can go anywhere right now. When we got there, we saw our daughter laying on the couch without a shirt and we immediately covered our eyes and I started scolding her about not wearing a shirt when her father and I come over, while she yelled back that she paid a shit ton of money to not have to wear a shirt, her exact words. We just dropped the groceries by the front door and walked out, and then texted my daughter about how disrespectful that was and how she should always be wearing a shirt even if she got some stupid surgery. My husband said we should let it go, but if she's not going to wear a shirt when her parents come over, then she might embarrass herself by not wearing a shirt in public and showing off those ugly scars she now has from her cosmetic top surgery. TLDR, daughter got top surgery, wouldn't put on a shirt after we came over to drop off groceries. OP. You're the definition of an asshole. First off, your son is a he. He made that decision and you can't control it. Stop acting like it's some kind of phase because it's not. He is free to be whoever he wants to be, and if being a male makes him happy then you should be supportive of it. Your son is not your puppet. You can't control everything he does. And those scars may be ugly to you, but they show how brave your son is. He should be able to show those scars proudly. Pull your head out your ass.